All right, let's talk about 9 tips to help you create new habits. Now, I know that that seems like a lot, but I'm really breaking it down and making it super, super simple so that you will finally have the success you've been looking for in making the new habits that you want to build your new life and become your very, very best self. This is Upcycled Adulting. I'm Cassie Feld, and I am here to help you upcycle your real life into your best life by creating healthy habits, growing to accomplish your goals, and overcoming obstacles. And today we're going to be talking about habit creation. We all, or many of us, have heard about the whole cue, trigger, reward, all of those things. But when it comes down to it, creating habits can actually be pretty difficult. And that's in large part because our brain is hardwired to be resistant to change and sees change, even when it's good for us, as dangerous. In addition to that, we already have pretty busy, chaotic lives. And so trying to create a new habit can be really, really challenging, and trying to figure out where it fits in can be even more challenging. And when you add to that, that most of us lean into self discipline and willpower and motivation, which never work, that makes it even harder. So today I want to share some really easy and tactical things that you can do to ensure that you're putting your best foot forward in this area and to make creating new habits a lot more simple and doable inside what I know is a very real, demanding, and busy life. Number one is going to be to choose only one habit. Now, I have to tell you that I know that this is incredibly hard. And a lot of times I have done this myself in a really big and broad way, where I define the habit in such a huge way that it's overwhelming. So I will sneak in there and be like, what is my one habit I'm trying to create? Well, it's to get healthy. So I'm going to change my nutrition and start exercising and drink more water. That's not one habit, y'all. A lot of times when we choose the one habit, we're choosing a multi component habit, and really getting down to the smallest piece of the new habit is incredibly, incredibly impactful. Now, I'm going to be sharing exactly how to do that in my next video. So do not forget to subscribe. But I need you to know that it is really essential to choose only one habit and to start with the smallest piece of that habit. All right. If you try to take on something too big or too many changes at one time, that's going to be problematic. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that you should have 3 habits that you're working on, or 3 goals that you're working on, that they should be professional, personal, and I want to say the third one's spiritual, but I'm not quite sure. And I want you to know that for most people, that is way too much. That's taking on way too much at one time. And really, when people start talking about that, that is a very different level, especially if you work from home or if your home and work life are currently intertwined with each other. This is much easier if you're working on a professional habit 9 to 5 while you're at work, and you're working on a personal habit when you're home, and you have really clear boundaries. But a lot of us, especially in 2023 in the 21st century, do not have clear boundaries about our work and home life. And until we establish them, it is best to be sure to focus on only one thing so that we don't get overwhelmed with too many things pulling on our time at the same time. Number 2 is change your thoughts. Change your thoughts and change your language. In addition, we need to be really intentional about claiming our new habit as part of ourselves and our lives, and not claiming habits that we don't want as part of ourselves or our lives. Now, I've talked about this a little before, and I think it's really important to be aware that when we say things like, I'm a nail biter, we are actually confirming to ourselves that that is a habit that we have and we want to have. When we are talking about our habits, it's really important to refer to ourselves as a person who engages in that habit. And I've said things like, if you want to be a writer, if you want to create the habit of writing every day because you want to be a published author, then refer to yourself as a writer now, Don't withhold that title from yourself until you're published. I'm telling you that if you want the habit to be established in your life, it's important that you embrace it as part of who you are today. So if you're working on health, then you may want to start referring to yourself as a health enthusiast. You may want to start referring to your life as a healthy lifestyle. I know that it's a work in progress, but I have to tell you that it's vitally important that we start identifying ourselves and thinking of ourselves in the role of a person who has already established that habit. And often we struggle so much with this because we want to judge ourselves and withhold this privilege of the title. But I have to tell you that holding the title will remind you to continue to be that person and show up in that way in your real life. Number 3 is get fired up and stay that way. Now, oh, y'all. Get fired up and stay that way does not mean lean into willpower, motivation, and self discipline. It does not mean get motivated, and it doesn't mean do your habit when you are motivated. It means set yourself up to create momentum so that you never have to worry about motivation again. Rather than leaning into motivation and being like, yay, I'm so fired up. I'm going to go to the gym 2 hours a day. Think about how you can create this lifestyle that supports your desire to continue to do that thing. Now, that might mean that you pair your new habit with an existing one. That might mean that you entice yourself to do that habit by pairing it with something you really love to do. One of my best and favorite examples of this is that my husband started recording his favorite TV show every day. And then he started walking on the treadmill and watching that show. So the only way he watches his favorite TV show is if he's on the treadmill. And that made it much easier for him to get into the habit of exercising, right? So when we pair those habits, that matters. But one of the biggest and most important ways to do this is actually to create a sense of pride and personal internal reward that is based on the habits we're already doing. Now, I know some of you are like, oh, Cassie, I'm so bad at this. I don't have any habits at all, right? But when I wanted to live a life that included my being more tidy and proactive in my home, I reminded myself that every day I get out of bed and I brush my teeth. I mean, I'm doing pretty well. Every day I do that. Get out of bed and brush my teeth and reminding myself that those were habits I already had, that I was already wildly successful at them. I know it sounds silly, but I was already wildly successful at them. I'd been doing them for like ever, for as long as I could remember, made it a lot easier for me to make my bed because I was like, well, I'm already starting off the day like batting 100. I've already got so many wins in my win column that it's easier for me to do the next winning thing because I feel like a winner going into that new thing. Being mindful of the things that you're already doing and not dismissing them, but giving yourself credit, giving yourself that emotional, mental pat on the back will help keep those dopamine levels high so that you will have the momentum you need to do your new habit. Number 4 is to uncover triggers. Now, what this means is identifying what it is that causes your behavior. That could be what it is that would cause your new behavior or what it is that causes a behavior you're trying to get rid of. It's really important for you to understand what it is that helps you feel most energetic or most enticed to do something. Do you feel most enticed by the immediate reward? For example, I absolutely, this will sound crazy, just bear with it. I'm going somewhere, I promise. I absolutely love cleaning my house. And the reason I love cleaning my house is because I love seeing that immediate result. And so when I started deciding that I wanted to create this habit of keeping house plants, I know I wanted to start keeping houseplants, and for many years since I had children, I have a black thumb. I used to be able to grow houseplants no matter what. I had a green thumb, and all of a sudden, I couldn't get in the habit of watering them or caring for them properly. And I really love having them in my house. One of the things that really helped me was when I was shopping with my sister, who was helping me with this project. She said to me, "What is the thing that will keep you going? What is the thing that's going to keep you engaged in this?" And I said, "I like to see results quickly." I know that. I like to see those quick results. And because of that, we got a lot of plants that grow really fast or that will flower really soon, things like that. We didn't get things that were already flowering that were going to go out of season, because then I would feel disheartened when they stopped flowering. Now I've had those plants for about a month and a half, and half of them are growing and need to be repotted, and they're all kinds of wild. And I feel like I've done an amazing job because I'm seeing that quick result. This has been challenging for me in other areas, for example, health and weight loss. And because I know that the thing that triggers me, the thing that is most enticing to me, is seeing those quick results, I had to shift my focus off the scale and onto more immediate victories, things like having more energy or being more clear minded or sleeping better. I had to shift my focus onto the things that I knew I would get more immediate results, because that matters to me. I, however, am not motivated by seeing a thing laying out. It actually makes me anxious. So recently, I was playing with the idea that it might trigger me to do a new habit if I left the tools of that habit out. For example, if I want to journal more habitually, or in my case, I wanted to start body brushing in the morning. So I left my body brush on the sink right next to my face wash. And every day when I saw it, it annoyed me because it wasn't supposed to be there. And so that is not a way for me to create a habit. Understanding your own rhythm, understanding what times of day work best for you, understanding what results are most likely to keep you on track is really important. So spend a little time journaling about this, or thinking about this, or even just experimenting with this, and figure out what it is that is most enticing to you, and then create that. Maybe it's having a friend tell you you're doing a great job. Maybe it is a physical, tangible reward. Maybe it is an immediate result, like you need to see some progress on a much more consistent basis. And then make sure that you set that up in your life. Number 5 is surround yourself with positivity. All right. I'm not going to tell you to go no contact with people who don't support your new habits and who you are, because I know that that would potentially leave some of you with zero contact with anyone. That's really where I started. What I'm going to tell you instead is to bring people closer in who either have similar habits that you want to have, are working on similar habits, or who are really supportive and encouraging. Maybe it's not the best idea, and I don't mean maybe, I mean for sure, it is not the best idea to share with someone who is going to poo poo your new habit. Meaning, if you say, you know, you have a friend, you've been working on a health habit, you know, they have in the past as well, but you know that they're so discouraged that as soon as you share with them, "Oh, I'm going to recommit to my health habit," they're going to be like, "Oh, that never works. I mean, maybe it'll work for you, but I've tried it. It never works for me. It's just so impossible." That negativity is not what you need right now. Sharing it with someone who's going to be like, "That's awesome. I'm so happy for you and I'm proud of you. And what can I do to support you?" And that's really exciting, is really, really important. Likewise, I find that it's important to not share my new habits or habits I'm trying to break with people who are potentially minimizing to what I'm trying to do, right? When, for example, I started my business, I had a lot of people in my life who were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful, and I'm so happy for you." And then they would come in with the but the economy is really tough right now. But is this really the best idea? But I just think you should be more realistic. Be very, very careful about the people you surround yourself, being realistic and being supportive of realistic ideas, and willing to tell you, "Hey, yeah, I know your new health goal has you creating a habit of working out 2 hours a day, but is that really the best way to be successful for you? I mean, maybe starting it a little smaller would be more helpful." right? That's good. You want those realistic people in your corner. You just don't necessarily want them to be so undermining or so immediately rejecting of what you're trying to do. There's a very big difference between saying, I think that potentially being more realistic in this moment for what you're expecting of yourself right now, and saying your big goal is astronomical and ridiculous and you're never going to get there, right? You're just never going to get there. So be mindful of surrounding yourself with people who are positive and who encourage you and support you and inspire you to accomplish your habit or to create your habit. And it's okay if they don't have the same habits you do, as long as they are supportive of the new habits you're trying to create. Number 6 is practice self care. When we are trying to create a new habit, it is extra important to be mindful of practicing self care, of doing things that we feel really good about, of giving ourselves breaks when we need them. Because a lot of times, what we do is we go in so hard that we end up spending a lot of output energy on making this change and not very much energy in just nurturing ourselves in the present moment. Right where I am right now. Even on the days that you miss it, self-care is important. And I would argue that it's potentially more important because it reminds you that you deserve the changes you're making, that you deserve those outcomes that you're going for. So don't hesitate to practice self-care. Now, if you're not sure where to start with self-care, go and check out my video about self-care and the 5 love languages, because I dig really deep into some excellent ideas for ways to practice self-care that will be really nourishing and beneficial for you, that are, by the way, cheap or free, simple, and not going to undermine your other goals, based on what your love language is. And this is incredibly impactful and a really great way to efficiently and effectively work self care into your life without it being super time consuming and then kind of missing the mark. Number 7 is track your success. Now, it is very helpful to use a habit tracker. If you are not currently using the Routinely app, I highly recommend you use it because it is the most flexible habit tracker on the market. And it sets you up for success in these other 8 areas that I'm talking about right now, because it rewards you for the little things you've already done and helps keep you fired up and all of that good stuff. But one of the things I want to talk about with habit tracking is to be graceful with it, to be kind to yourself with it. Habit tracking is meant to encourage you, it's not meant to punish you. And a lot of times when we track our success, we get really into these rigid spaces of perfectionism where we expect ourselves to do our habit every single day without fail. And the reality of the situation is, one, some habits aren't daily habits to begin with. Back to the plant thing, right? If I water my plants every day, that will also kill them. Some habits are not daily habits to begin with. Exercise is generally not a daily habit. Your body does need time to rest. There are a lot of things that fit into our lives on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Maybe it's a couple times a week, or maybe it's seasonal. It's something that you do as a habit only in the spring or only around the holidays. It's important for your habit tracker to be flexible to that, but it's also important for it to reflect your real life. Things like vacations and urgent situations that come up. I know as a mom, it's really important for me to be able to skip my habit if there's an emergency or an illness with one of my kids. That's not because I'm slacking. That's actually because I need to do my mom job. If I have a huge project at work, it could impact my habits. If I'm on vacation, that may impact my habits. I have a lot of work habits I don't do on vacation. It's super helpful to have a habit tracker that allows you to maintain streaks even in these situations. So you don't feel like you're starting back at square one. You don't feel like my habit tracker is showing me that I'm a screw up. You want to feel like your habit tracker is showing you that you're making progress so that, again, you can stay fired up and feel really great about it. And that's part of why I recommend the Routinely app is because it's just so flexible in working around your real life. One of the ways that this has really been important for me is that I also have an autoimmune condition, which many of you know. And in having an autoimmune condition, I have to be very mindful of listening to my body, especially when it comes to rest, so that I don't end up in a full flare. I don't end up really sick and having really serious progression of my condition. And sometimes that means that I have to take a break from my workouts, or that I have to modify some of my other habits so that I can accommodate the rest that I need for my autoimmune condition. And having a tracker that allows for that, listen, it has been a game changer because I consistently feel successful with my habits. My point is with number 7, track success, is your habit tracker should be making you feel successful. It helps you hold you accountable, but it also makes you feel successful. If your habit tracker is making you feel ashamed, or is making you feel frustrated, or is making you feel like it just isn't realistic or it's not working for you, then it is not a good idea for you to be using that habit tracker. Try the Routinely app. Honestly, everyone can benefit from it. It's an absolute game changer. Number 8 is plan a reward. Okay, I'm not down with withholding rewards because you have struggled. In a lot of cases, when we're struggling, we most need a reward to boost up our motivation levels, to boost up that fired up feeling. We need something that will help us to feel good and get us going again. But I am also a huge fan of planning a reward. And as much as that reward can be connected to your new habit in a healthy way, the better. For example, if you plan a reward and you say, after I have successfully completed okay, this is a really good one. Once I start walking more than 2 blocks, I'm going to get myself new tennis shoes. Listen, you're going to need new tennis shoes, right? I had a reward thing because exercise is always a big focus for me. It is a supercharged habit, which is very important. I'll talk about that again in the next video when I talk about choose just one. It is a supercharged habit for most people. And so, knowing that and knowing that rewards are really helpful for me, I actually planned this thing that I would reward myself. And I started small. I was like, if I do 5 workouts in a row, I get a tank top that has some sassy writing on it, right? And I actually now have quite the collection of tank tops with sassy writing, and I love them all. And they weren't expensive, and it wasn't a big deal. Create a reward that is reinforcing of your goal, though. Something that, meaning the reward is not an ice cream sundae. If you want an ice cream sundae, please have one. Stop withholding things from yourself like that. Stop punishing yourself like that. But the reward is something often related to it, something that maybe will make it more fun, something that's maybe more interesting, and it could be something that's free. It might be something like a nice hot bath. It could be literally anything. That reward does not have to cost money. But holding that little enticement out there for yourself is really, really beneficial. Now, a lot of my rewards are actually related to the fact that when I get to this point, I get to up level my habit because I so love up leveling my habits. And that feels so rewarding to me. And that's so exciting for me and always keeps me fired up. Do the thing that works for you, but be sure to plan a reward. And number 9, and I think this is the most important one of all by far, is keep trying. That's it. Just keep trying. Sometimes because of the season in our life, it's just not working. Sometimes this particular habit doesn't work, but that particular habit would right now. Keep trying. Rather than deciding that you're a failure or a quitty quitter like I did, rather than thinking that you're way behind and what's the point, just keep making the effort. If you can create one and only one habit in your life, make it be the habit of trying again. Because the truth of the matter is, Everyone struggles with some habits. Everyone struggles with something. I remember talking to a friend of mine a long time ago, and she runs marathons and she's a personal trainer and she works out every day. And of course, I have these health goals, and I'm so impressed by how, disciplined she is related to her health and how she eats and how she drinks her water and she always gets her 10,000 steps. I was just so impressed. And I said, you must have everything together in your life. Like, if you can do this, you must be killing it. And she said, actually, this is the thing I can do. And she went on to tell me that she really struggles with a lot of other habits, especially habits related to finance, related to money management. I, by the way, happen to be great at money management very easily. I have great money management habits, always have, never had to try to create them. And she was explaining to me that she really struggles there. And we started talking and working together and discussing the way that she could use her success in this specific area to help her create success in this other area where she really struggled with habits. That being mindful of how good she is at creating habits could help her feel encouraged to create the new habits that she wanted. And I say this because if she had struggled to create the financial management habits she wanted, and then thrown up her hands and been like, I'm just terrible at habits, which is what I did for many years, she never would have had those health habits. It's really important to recognize that it's not just about continuing to try to create the habit that right now you're dreaming of or imagining. It's also about being aware of when you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Maybe that's not the habit to start with. Maybe that's not the most pressing thing in your life right now. Maybe this isn't the season. Maybe that's not your strongest suit. Maybe it would be helpful to keep trying, but to refocus your energy into a space where you could create that momentum, because you know that you can create success there. And you can use that momentum to move into this other habit you're dreaming of. Just keep trying. Do not give up. Because here's the deal. You are absolutely amazing, and you deserve the life that you have been dreaming about. Do not forget to subscribe for more information about life and mindset management and how to create the habits you need to build the life you have been dreaming of. Bye, everyone.